out of that one, Mr. Lotu-Iiga.
Visitor Sam Lotu-Iiga.
Thank you, and I think not only this Parliament, but certainly the people in New Zealand had heard enough from the past leader of the Labour Party, and certainly that sounded like a leadership speech, if I've ever heard one, Mr. Cunliffe. So it's a pleasure, sir, to actually speak on this, the third reading of the Child Support Amendment Bill, sir. And as the chair of the Social Services Committee that considered this bill, I want to take an opportunity to thank the Minister of Revenue. He talked about the long road of discovery for him in getting to this bill, the Honourable Peter Dunn, and I want to thank him for his constructive assistance as our committee deliberated on this bill. I also want to thank the many officials, the committee staff, the clerks, and also fellow committee members who considered this bill. But I don't want to thank Mr. Cunliffe because he neither sat on any of the submissions or was part of the deliberations of this bill. And Mr. Cunliffe talked about an old principle of jurisprudence. And what was that old principle of jurisprudence? He said it was to take his marching orders from the United Nations. Well, sir, we on this side of the House will not take our directions from Ms. Clark in New York and the United Nations, sir. He might take those instructions, sir, but we will not. Whoa!
Point of order. 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 Points of order will be heard in silence. Honourable David Cunliffe.
2 points, Mr. Speaker. One, there's a long-standing order that it's inappropriate to suggest that members are taking orders from any personage or interest outside this House. And secondly, sir, it feeds into the broader issue of misrepresentation, understanding.
Yeah, well, no, order. The first point is upheld. Members cannot be accused of taking instruction from outside this House, and that is clearly set out in Speaker's rulings. The second point, where members we'll just ask for a little bit more courteousness across the House.
Thank you, sir. And he did mention the United Nations Convention. I added 1 + 1 = 2, and I thought he was referring to his former boss. But anyway, sir, coming back to why this bill is important, the child support system, sir.
Point of order. Point of order. Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr. Speaker, some members, when they have been corrected by your wise judgment, sir, have the generosity and maturity to withdraw and apologise. Others repeat the sin in different language. You may wish to decide which of those cases applies here.
When a point of order has been dealt with, members should move on and not even refer to the point of order. Sam Lotu-Iiga.
Thank you, sir. It was, as I said, sir, is and always has been a backstop for families and when parents no longer are living together and cannot support themselves for an arrangement for the support of their children, sir. It's not about the United Nations. It's not about external parties. It's about what's going on in this country and between kids that clearly need support. So, sir, child support was never intended, as the Minister said, it was never intended to be the automatic default position, and nor should it be that. And my strong preference, sir, in these arrangements, when relationships sadly do break up, parents should be encouraged to make those arrangements in a private way for the maintenance of their children. And I equally recognise that it is not always going to be fair or feasible in a number of these cases. So, sir, it's therefore the aim of this system to ensure financial support is reasonable and reached on a voluntary basis. To do this efficiently and accurately in today's context, it is important that the scheme be updated. Sir, like many in this House, I've had several of my constituents contact me about the inequity and the unfairness of the current system. And they come to me in my electorate office, and the previous member won't know because he neither lives in his electorate and nor does he know where his electorate office is in New Lynn. But I'm saying that in terms of doing this efficiently, child support payments should take into account a greater range of individual circumstances and capacities of both parents, which are more in line with modern practice, sir. So it's important, as I said, that the formula be altered to reflect current modern practices as happens between couples in relationships, sir. So in the context of child support, it means that child support payments are collected and delivered for the benefit of those children that they are intended for. and they should not pass those financial responsibilities to maintain their children onto other members of society, as the previous member seemed to suggest. So we know that there are 210,000 children and families who are currently involved in the system. We know that the system is outdated. We know that there are current issues within the system. This new system, though, sir, will not solve each problem. The Minister has clearly represented that, and he stated it up front, but we all know as well, and the previous member knows himself, that this system is better than the last system. So, sir, I just want to say I support this bill. It obviously has a new formula which bases child support payments on a wider recognition of shared care, income of both parents, as well as an estimated average expenditure for raising children in New Zealand. Again, the previous member, Mr Cunliffe, said he did not know how we came to the formula. Well, I suggest he reads the bill first, sir. He turns up to select committee hearings when submitters turn up, and I suggest that he actually listens to some of his colleagues who might have an idea about what is going on in this bill. So, sir, what happens is people get behind in their payments. He suggested that the debt has exploded. We acknowledge that. We saw that in the Finance and Expenditure Select Committee and saw that people are dropping out of the system and not making their payments. But the changes in this bill are about encouraging and facilitating parents to make more timely payments of child support, and that's why I commend this bill to the House. Thank you.
Jacinda Ardern.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I first of all, before I begin, just want to